Hey everyone, and welcome to the Rules of Thumb podcast with Dr. G. I'm your host, Nick Golinvaux, and I write a weekly newsletter on all things musculoskeletal health and longevity. That means fewer aches and pains and a better knowledge of what to actually do when they inevitably rear their ugly head. In this podcast, I will read to you my article of the week so that you can listen to it on the go. If video is more your thing, welcome to those of you watching on my YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's get into this week's article on golfer's elbow. If you've been reading my articles for any length of time, you're probably familiar with tennis elbow by now. It's a nasty tendonitis that is extremely common, as upwards of 50% of us will get it during our lives. But did you know that there's a far less common, but equally painful analog to tennis elbow? Appropriately, the colloquial term for it is golfer's elbow. I will say, tennis elbow affects just about everyone, no matter the activity, garden projects, labor work, tennis, etc. But golfer's elbow, while it certainly can be caused by things other than golf, is almost primarily something that I do see, just golfers. So let's dive in and learn a few things to keep this condition out of your life. Golfer's elbow is a tendonitis of the muscles that flex your wrists and fingers and pronate your arm. It's a condition that affects the connection between your upper arm bone, or your humerus bone, and the muscles of your forearm. Specifically, the muscles involved are the muscles that help you flex your wrists, flex your fingers, and pronate your forearm. Pronation is the motion when you rotate from a palm up position to a palm down position. All of the muscles that help you perform these actions start at an anchor point on your humerus bone near the inside of your elbow. If you're following along on the article, you can see it in the image below, and we'll be sure to link to this article in the show notes. Just like in tennis elbow, golfer's elbow typically occurs with a combination of either poor technical form, overuse, or just bad luck. These can all combine to cause the accumulation of small tears in the muscles and tendons where they attach themselves to the inner elbow. This phenomenon of small tears at the muscle tendon anchor points constantly happens in muscles all over our body. But one of the main reasons that this is such a problem in the elbow is that there's a relatively poor blood supply at the muscle junctions. Again, the golfer's elbow muscles have a better blood supply than the tennis elbow muscles, so it's less common. But poor blood supply means slowed healing and prolonged pain. Not to mention the fact that we are constantly rotating our forearms, flexing our wrists, and closing our fingers throughout the day to do, well, just about anything. Golfer's elbow is a clinical diagnosis, meaning that no advanced tests are needed to determine the cause of your symptoms. Tenderness directly over the bone-muscle interface on your inner elbow means you almost certainly have golfer's elbow. There are essentially no other conditions with pain in this exact spot. Here's another test. Turn your palm up and grasp a friend's hand in that position. Now have them try to resist against you pronating or turning your palm down and see, did this cause pain in your inner elbow? You can essentially seal the deal. You've got medial epicondylitis. I have good news, mostly, and it's that the treatment of golfer's elbow is almost entirely non-surgical. It really is good news. Surgery for golfer's elbow is only considered after more than a year of symptoms and really a failure of all other treatment options. The bad news? Symptoms can last a year. Yikes. Everything we do for treatment is an attempt to shorten this time frame and manage the symptoms while your body is naturally healing. If you have medial epicondylitis, you need to understand that you may be in it for the long haul. But think about it. So many conditions in our bodies cannot naturally heal themselves. Arthritis, fractures, tendon lacerations. This one can heal itself. It's actually quite remarkable. It just takes time. 6 to 9 months is the average. All right, so now how to treat golfer's elbow. So here's your tough love. This almost perfectly mirrors what I wrote for tennis elbow. So first, stop the offending activity. Yes, that means stop playing golf. If you know me personally, you know I would never say this if I didn't really mean it. Next, pick your favorite of the following. Ice, gentle massage, heat, topical menthol with brands such as Icy Hot or Tiger Balm, CBD oil, diclofenac gel, compression wraps, etc., etc. None of these is the answer, but each of them can certainly help with the discomfort. Number 3, you need a wrist brace, not an elbow brace. Yes, please hear that again. Don't buy what the internet markets you, those silly little forearm and elbow wraps. Remember, you now understand where this problem originates, and it's in the wrist flexor muscles. So, the answer is a wrist brace. This will prevent you from continuing to flex the wrist hundreds of times a day and overstress those muscles, thus giving them a chance to finally heal. So at nighttime, I want you to sleep in the brace full time for a minimum of 6 weeks. And for daytime, I want you to wear the brace 24/7 for the first 3 weeks. After that, you can slowly use it less and less during the day, kind of letting pain be your guide. If you want to link to my full bracing framework, we'll go ahead and link it in the show notes as well. The next step is home physical therapy. You can get fancy with this and go to a physical therapist. They're very good at this kind of stuff. Or you can boil it down to 2 exercises and 2 stretches to do at home. In the article, I've linked my favorite set of exercises. I will link that in the show notes as well. Go to page 3 of that link, and those are the 2 exercises and 2 stretches that you should do. If you're religious about these, you will improve. One tip on this, I would use a can of soup as the weight when you're doing these exercises rather than trying to go out and buy the bands that are pictured. And you're basically performing resisted wrist extension and wrist flexion exercises. But the real key here is the slow count of 3 as you lower the weight. As you're lowering the weight, that's the eccentric phase of the exercise, and that is crucial. And then the last thing to consider is working with a coach to check your golf swing form. I hate to tell you, but many of these issues do begin and end with proper mechanics. Finally, you may be wondering about steroid injections, and it's a good thought. However, evidence has been mounting in the tennis elbow literature that while steroid injections will temporarily make you feel better, they may actually prolong the duration of symptoms. And since tennis elbow is far more common than golfer's elbow, but the pathology is the same, we should pay attention. Now, sometimes this condition is just so painful that you can't even get through the day. In those cases, an injection may still be worth it. But when I have this talk with my patients, the ones who have a mild enough case that they only describe their symptoms as annoying rather than debilitating, will typically choose to hold off on injections. By far, the hardest part about both golfer's elbow and tennis elbow is the waiting. So some takeaways from today. Golfer's elbow, or medial epicondylitis, is a surprisingly painful condition that results from overuse of the wrist and finger flexor muscles, as well as the forearm pronator muscles. Symptoms commonly last many months, and we don't yet have any treatments that provide quick relief. And then the last thing is you need a wrist brace, not an elbow brace. Hopefully this gives you enough information on which to base your treatment decisions. There's no perfect way to get rid of medial epicondylitis quickly. But for those of you who like to trust your body, it will heal. We just need to get you from point A to point Z while we wait for that to happen. And the outline above is the first step. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time.